So welcome back to the Angular fundamentals. So in this section we'll discuss on the performance of an Angular application. On the screen which you can able to see that we have four options here and four different performance. We'll just describe the complete performance of an Angular. So we'll see the first one, useful for building complex applications in the browser. When you look at the AngularJS is efficient framework that can create a rich internet applications, and AngularJS provides the developers to an options to write an client-side apps. Is an MVC based framework and model view control which handle the structurized application of an Angular JS. And applications written in AngularJS are cross-browser compliant. So AngularJS will automatically handle the JavaScript code suitable for each browser. And when you look at the AngularJS, the second one, which is an open source client-side JS framework, and it's completely free and used by thousands of developers in the world, and it is licensed under the Apache license version 2.0 and created by Google. And Angular is a framework to build a large scale and high performance and easy to maintain the web applications. So, and Angular, it accomplishes a lot of embracing of HTML, JavaScript and CSS within it. And within the Angular core features, when you look at the core features of an Angular, it's purely depend on the TypeScript, the language, okay, so which is based on ECMAScript concepts. When you look at the current stable version of an Angular, it's already been released for an Angular 7, okay. And but when you look at the basic version of an Angular, which is 1.x, was built in using the features of ES5 and was meant to work with the most of the web browsers, including some of the older versions of an Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Chrome. The framework had a create module, that system of its own, and abstract way to some of the language features. An introduction to an object-oriented web development using TypeScript. So, as we already told you that the Angular 1.6 was built in using the features of an ES5, and also the latest the next level frameworks 2 and 2 plus onwards will build on the ES concepts of 6 and 7, ECMAScript 6 and 7. Okay, so when you see that the types TS, the TypeScript is a language, it's a script, it's a superset of our JavaScript, which has been built and maintained by the Microsoft, and it was chosen by the Angular team for the development. The presence of TypeScript makes the code written in TypeScript to avoid the runtime errors. In recent times, the support for the ES6 has been greatly improved for the features from the ES7 as being addressed, added as well. So when you look at the application of an Angular development, so that was built with the simplicity in their mind. Okay, the team removed a number of recipes of an Angular structures, made us the things to develop a single page SPA applications with a higher level implementation of higher level frameworks. When you compare the TypeScript with the normal JavaScript, so TypeScript is known as an object-oriented programming language, where JavaScript is a scripting language. So TypeScript has a feature known as static typing, but JavaScript doesn't have this feature. And TypeScript gives the support for modules, whereas JavaScript it doesn't have support for the modules. So that is the reason why we use the TypeScript in Angular development. And when you look at the community of an Angular, these are community partners of an Angular, and they are going to help out the for Angular team for entire development process. And now it has been taken over by the Google. So Google is going to take the complete rights, and they are releasing stable versions of an Angular application. And when you look at the full features framework, as we discussed already, that Angular is depend on ES6 and TypeScript support, and the latest version of an Angular, which is will come up with the ES7 support. And when you look at the application speed, it's having the high speed, and the performance is very high because of the MVC architecture. And Angular will also supports the modular designs, like we have designing the views and our structures with respect to the components based. And when the component such modular structure, we can structurize it with the MVC pattern. And it supports mobile and tablets, etc. So because Angular is going to have its responsive web design built in within it, and automatically it adjusts its screen sizes to all device screen resolutions. So that makes Angular supported for responsive web application. So when you are not targeting about only the the web application platforms, even the Angular will also support for the mobile platform. So we have a very high level Angular UI frameworks for best suiting for the mobile framework hybrid development. So for example, like Ionic, Apache Cordova, and so on. And when you look at the UI components, what we were going to use on the Angular to develop a web application. So for example, like NG Bootstrap, NGX Bootstrap, and there are many more. When I look at the Angular 1 application, so I'll just show you how to go with the Angular 1. So by developing we can assign see when you are just assigning the ng app directive, okay. So defining the ng app directive will always help us to implement the Angular 1 app structure. So we'll just say enter your name, okay, and we'll take the input type text. We'll just define the ng model of name, and then we'll write the paragraph hello, welcome to, and we'll accept the span. We'll say ng bind, we'll refer that name. So this ng app will always signifies that it's an Angular 1. The coding structure, okay. So you just write the src. We have to call the library of an Angular from Google APIs, ajax dot googleapis.com, ajax libs AngularJS 1.3.14, Angular main.js file. When you save the application, when you run the same application on your browser, so you can run the application on browser, so you can just start writing the name, anything. Welcome to Angular fundamentals. So this is how the application of is going to be structured, and it's going to compatible for your user developer. Some now you can able to see that an Angular core structures the source of a application. So in this applications, you can able to see that the first step one, which is of adding the script, so that it will signifies that we are loading the JS framework of an Angular, okay, a JS library. And in the second point, which you can able to see that ng app, so where it defines an Angular JS applications using the ng app directive, and we are defining the ng model. So that model name will always be using, we are referring through ng model directive, and will bind the model using ng bind. So this is a simple structural view of an Angular applications, where ng app directive defines and it links an AngularJS application to the HTML. So where ng model it directive, it binds the values of an Angular application data into HTML input controls. And where ng bind directive will builds an binds an AngularJS application data to HTML tags elements. So this is the structure of an Angular application. So the example things, and in Angular we have a various modules called directive, expressions, controllers, filters, tables, and DOM manipulation with module and forms. Including in Angular JS 2 and 4, these are the same the modules of an Angular. We can able to see call it as a building blocks of an Angular application development, whether it is any framework or from 1 to 7. And these are the building blocks of an Angular, and we'll see each and every Angular building block, and along with we'll see the along with an examples. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned, we'll continue in next video.